look at his face. He looks so surprised.
I know, right? This is gold.
Hello there. Please sit down.
They thought it would be funny. They thought setting him up with her would embarrass him, but when the black single dad walked into that restaurant, looked at the nervous, overweight woman sitting alone, and spoke the words no one expected, the whole room fell silent hand for the first time in her life. She cried because someone finally saw her as a person, not a joke. The evening breeze settled outside the small family restaurant, its warm lights glowing softly against the fading sky. Inside, the air was filled with quiet chatter, the clinking of plates, and the aroma of home-cooked meals. At a corner booth sat a woman named Lily Hart. She smoothed her dress nervously, her hands trembling slightly as she waited for someone she had never met. Her hair was neatly curled, and she wore soft makeup, hoping to feel beautiful for once. She didn't go on dates often. Years of unkind comments had convinced her she did not deserve them. Tonight, she had taken a brave step, but she did not know the truth. She did not know someone had set this blind date up as a joke, a cruel one. Something to laugh about later. Across town, a single father named Marcus Bennett stood in front of a mirror, straightening the collar of his shirt. He exhaled deeply, unsure why his friends had insisted he go on this blind date. They told him it would be good for him, that he needed to meet new people, that he needed to try again. Marcus was a man shaped by responsibility and loss. He raised his 6-year-old son Malik, alone, after losing his wife to illness. His days were filled with work, laundry, bedtime stories, and sacrifice. His nights were quieter than he liked. The idea of dating made him anxious, but he trusted his friends when they said the woman waiting for him was kind, gentle and lonely in a familiar way. He did not know they were snickering behind his back. He did not know they had chosen someone they believed he would reject. They expected him to walk out, laugh, or complain. They knew nothing of the man he truly was. Marcus parked his car and stepped into the restaurant, scanning the tables. And then he saw her. Lily sat with her hands in her lap, looking down at her menu as if trying not to take up space. Her shoulders were curved forward, her expression tight with fear of rejection. As Marcus approached, he saw the panic in her eyes, the way she braced herself as if preparing for another wound. The kind she had carried her entire life. In that moment, he understood everything. Someone had hurt her already before he even sat down. He recognized the look. It was the same one Malik wore after kids at school mocked his father for being overworked or tired. Marcus slid into the booth, across from her with a gentle smile. Lily whispered a small greeting and apologized for not being good company. He listened, surprised by how soft her voice was and how much weight she carried beneath every word. A group of Marcus's friends sat near the bar, pretending not to watch, but failing terribly. They nudged each other, covering their laughter behind menus. One of them muttered that Marcus would be furious. Another predicted he would walk out in 5 minutes. Marcus heard them. Lily didn't. He clenched his jaw, feeling a familiar fire rise in his chest, the kind reserved for moments when someone hurt his son. But he looked at Lily and saw a woman who deserved kindness, not pity. He asked about her day, her interests, her dreams. Her laughter was soft, surprised, and unsteady at first, as if she hadn't used it in a while. Lily admitted she rarely went out. The people often stared, judged, or made comments they thought she couldn't hear. Marcus felt something inside him shift as she spoke. This wasn't a joke. This wasn't a setup for humiliation. This was a person with a soul full of stories no one had taken the time to hear. A waiter approached, noticing the men at the bar and their poorly hidden smirks. He leaned in quietly and said, "Sir, if you need me to move them, I will." Marcus shook his head. He wanted to handle this himself. He looked at Lily again. She caught a glimpse of sadness in his eyes. She glanced over her shoulder, saw the group giggling, and her face fell. Her breath hitched as she whispered that she understood if he wanted to leave. She said it gently, like someone used to watching disappointment walk away. Marcus sat up straighter. His silence became powerful. He wasn't angry at her. He was angry that people thought she was someone to laugh at. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. On the screen was a photo of his son, smiling widely, missing 2 front teeth. He told her he was a single father, that his son had taught him to love people for who they are, not what they look like. He said he was tired of the world mistaking cruelty for humor and loneliness for weakness. Lily blinked in shock, her eyes filling with tears. No one had spoken to her like that before. No one had looked at her like that before. Not with disgust, not with amusement, but with sincerity. And then Marcus stood. He walked toward his friends at the bar. They smirked, as if ready to celebrate the joke. Marcus spoke calmly but firmly. He told them the blind date they arranged wasn't funny, that they had targeted a kind woman for a cheap laugh. He said their behavior embarrassed him. He looked them in the eyes and said that real strength isn't found in mocking others. It is found in lifting them up. His friends fell silent. The laughter evaporated. The restaurant grew quiet as people sensed something important unfolding. Marcus returned to Lily and sat down again. She wiped her tears, overwhelmed by the dignity he had given her. He told her she deserved someone who wanted to know her heart, not her weight. He said she was brave for showing up tonight, braver than the people who tried to use her for entertainment. Lily covered her mouth, tears streaming as she tried to breathe through the emotion crashing over her. She whispered that no one had ever defended her like that. Marcus smiled gently. He said that kindness is a choice, and he was choosing her in this moment, choosing to make sure she never felt invisible again. The waiter returned, offering 2 desserts on the house. Lily laughed softly as Marcus told her he was ready to hear every story she wanted to share. And she did. For the first time, she spoke freely. She talked about her love for art, her dream of opening a small bakery, her childhood memories, and the quiet pieces of her life she never shared with anyone. As the night went on, Marcus realized the truth. He hadn't been tricked. He hadn't been trapped. He had been given a chance to see someone beautiful in a way the world often refused to see, and Lily realized something too. She wasn't the joke. She wasn't the punchline. She wasn't the embarrassment. She was the lesson. She was the one who showed the room what real courage looked like. When they finally left the restaurant, Lily's shoulders were no longer hunched. Her steps were steadier. She looked up at the night sky with a small smile, and Marcus walked beside her, knowing that sometimes the greatest connections begin in moments others intended to destroy. Sometimes the people the world overlooks are the ones who shine the brightest when someone finally sees them clearly.